It's beginning to remind me of OJ hunting for the real killers. The wider she looks for the real killers of her campaign, the more you suspect, and in fact, the more your view is confirmed that the answer is closer to home, considerably closer to home.
That's a perfect analogy. So what is the effect of the Democratic Party? So, not that I'm a reliable Democratic voter, it's really not my business, but I'm a watcher of this stuff, and I'm thinking, if you're the Democrats, Trump's having some problems, you want to make the most you can of that, and into the calculation comes Hillary Clinton, this ghost from the past, to talk about herself. Is that helpful for you?
Yeah, I think it's actually very revealing. I mean, if you look at Bernie, for example, Bernie is ploughing on now to try and introduce socialized healthcare in America, because to him, American healthcare isn't wrecked enough, so he'd like to take it to the next level. So Bernie, in fairness, whatever one believes about, whatever one thinks about him, is ploughing on with a policy concern. Hillary is writing a book that actually has nothing to say about policy, has nothing to say about where the Democrats should go, and is instead mired in on all kinds of weird issues, like including, as you say, among the people she blames are, quote, phony people acting like Americans, unquote. I don't even know what that means, but it indicates a high degree of paranoia. If you're out there on the street and you're worried that all around you are phony people acting like Americans. I might even be one of them, Tucker. You can't tell anymore. That's how crazy it is.
And it's also, and I've suspected this for 25 years, actually, since I started covering the Clintons, it's not very clever. So she's got this line in her book, and I know that you're an Orwell scholar, so I wanted to run this by you. She compares the Trump campaign to the state in the novel 1984, and she says the aim of state propaganda is to, quote, make you question logic and reason and to sow mistrust toward exactly the people we need to rely on, our leaders, the press, experts who seek to guide public policy based on evidence. So she's saying basically the message of George Orwell is you need to trust the government, the experts, and the media. Is that, do you think, a fair reading of Orwell's message?
No, of course not. And the idea, by the way, I mean, it would be, I mean, to revive the old line about history repeating itself, first tragedy, then farce, the idea of a remake of 1984 with Trump and his Billy Bush tape and his Rosie O'Donnell jokes and all the rest of it. The fact is, there is a grain of truth in what she says. The media loved her. The media looked at her adoringly. But the media, even in their bias, are sufficiently human that Trump was just too interesting. Yes. And the fact is that every time Trump got up on stage, you never knew what he was going to say. He might go on about the Iranian nuclear program, or he might go on about how Macy's stock price had tanked since they'd stopped carrying Trump ties. You never knew what he was going to talk about. Hillary was the most canned and robotic presidential candidate. And that was the issue. The idea that it wasn't self-inflicted wounds, yes, it was, because at heart she had no rationale for her candidacy, and she wasn't a good enough candidate.
Oh, but you're missing it. No. What she's saying is you're a deeply shallow man, Mark Steyn. You're not smart enough to dig into the complex policies she proposed. Well, I actually read her campaign book, her infrastructure plan, among many others. The single largest collection of banalities I've ever seen. There was no substance there. And yet she's trying to convince us that, like, we missed it because we're not as sophisticated as she is.
No, and in fact, in fairness to Donald Trump, he may be the reality show candidate, as she says, but he stood up on that first day when he went on about Mexico's not sending us our best people, they're sending us all these rapists and murderers. Right. And whatever you feel about it, he introduced the issue into the campaign, which was immigration and the wall. And so you can mock the joke candidate, but actually one of the things that Trump did that was incredibly useful is that he destroyed all the boring, tedious conventions of professional American politics that resulted in the year 2016 in one party offering the wife of the previous president and the other party offering the son and the brother of two previous
That's
presidents.
exactly right.
And actually, and I say this as the subject of the tyrannical crown you guys threw off, that ought to be unseemly in a republic of 300 million people. And she should have known that, and Jeb Bush should have known that. Your husband was president. That's enough. Clear off. Go to Martha's Vineyard. Go to the Bahamas. Get lost. Get out of here. And the same for Jeb Bush, too. Your dad was president, and your brother was president. And they weren't so indispensable that we need a third one. Clear off, you creeps. That's unseemly in a republic. And if I sound like a phony guy trying to pass myself off as an American, so be it. You real Americans should try saying that.
I just want that in print so I can keep it in my wallet and consult it once a week. Mark Steyn, thank you. I'm